Greetings, friends. I just stumbled into this video from the Swedenborg Foundation, and I went to their website here so you can quickly see they have spiritual discoveries, free ebooks, weekly webcasts, scholars, resources, spirituality, and practice. So I don't know much about the Swedenborg Church or whatever this is, but at first glance it looks a little potentially new agey, but who am I to say? But then here's the brief information on him from Wikipedia. Emanuel Swedenborg was a Swedish pluralistic Christian theologian, scientist, philosopher, and mystic. He's best known for his book on the afterlife, Heaven and Hell. Interesting. Swedenborg had a prolific career as an inventor and scientist. In 1741, at 53, he entered into a spiritual phase in which he began to experience dreams and visions. His doctrine, the Lord had opened Swedenborg's spiritual eyes. Oh, how convenient! So that from then on, Swedenborg could freely visit heaven and hell to converse with angels, demons, and other spirits, and the Last Judgment had already occurred the year before in 1757. According to Swedenborg, we leave the physical world once, and then we go through several lives in the spiritual world. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to get into all that rabbit hole of stuff. A kind of hybrid of Christian tradition and the popular view of reincarnation. Exactly. There is a bit of an Eastern thing here. The point that should stand out to you is, my eyes are open, so I can freely visit heaven and hell. I can converse with angels and demons and other spirits. And so you don't need a tradition and other, church leaders. You don't need to get together and, have councils, because that's all corrupt and that's all Satan, having councils and getting together and deciding, like, are we on the same page here, or is this guy a little loopy? Oh, no, it doesn't. See, that's all corrupt and that's satanic. But Swedenborg had the truth, obviously, because he could directly commune with the angels. What did they say about Joseph Smith, like the guy who started the Mormon church? Wasn't it kind of like a similar situation? Like he claimed to have direct revelation or something? So I'm just saying that a little culty, but who am I to say? So very early on in their video, they have this guy, Dr. Jonathan Rose, and he is addressing some questions regarding the Last Judgment and what will happen after the Last Judgment. A lot of the stuff they're talking on, I don't necessarily have any comment on. Don't really have much to say, but I just have to play some of that just so you know the context. I don't want you to have the impression that I'm, portraying them out of context. I don't want you to have that idea.
And similarly, the Lord predicts in Matthew chapter 24, when he's in this world and he's looking forward to this cataclysm that will occur at a future time, he says, "Then there will be great tribulation, such as not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be." So again, that suggests that this last judgment will be the last judgment, and we don't have to do that again. It's very exciting to me, although the Last Judgment supplies some fascinating drama and so forth, I like the idea that once this is done, there will be this endless increase of his government peace. There'll be no end, that good things will start happening. A few weeks ago, Curtis had Howard Storm on the show, and he was talking about a vision he had about something like 200 years from now, that things were really good. So you had someone on the show a few weeks ago that had a vision that 200 years from now, things are going to be really good. So we're into the mystic sort of thing. Oh, okay. In the future. He said it wasn't the definite future, but that really was on the menu, that we could be in great shape. People telepathically in touch with each other. They know how to do healing. They know how to change the weather. And there's this kind of love in the world. So I'm drawn to that idea that we got this mess out of the way. Now it gets better and better after this.
Okay, well, let's listen to that one more time. He said 4 or 5 different points there.
That really was on the menu, that we could be in great shape. People telepathically in touch with each other. They know how to do healing. They know how to change the weather. And there's this kind of love in the world.
People telepathically in touch with each other. They know how to do healing. I mean, oh, okay, like healing's good, but this is like super new agey. And the telepathy thing, it's like I believe in telepathy, but what on earth? Like these are the things you're bringing up about sort of like a heaven on earth sort of scenario. This is the sort of stuff that comes to mind. Like, oh, we're all telepathic and we can heal each other with energy and all this, and then change the weather. Whoa, and that's extremely questionable because when China changes the weather for its Olympic Games, when they seed rain clouds to stop it from raining on their games, that's all in the best spirit of things. And the scientists and the technocrats of the world, they know best for us, and if they need to manage the weather, then we should trust them. But even if it's like from a good place, why? It's like this is the sort of like thing you would expect of like a magi civilization connected to the occult, connected to Gnostic ideas of like man becoming a god, humans becoming like they're like gods on earth, and we can all do these. We like basically taking on what would appear to some of us as almost like supernatural powers, and we're communicating telepathically. We're having visions. Perhaps we're even communicating with other non-human entities, and and then he mentions the love thing, and the love thing is they always bring up, because love is the wedge that they use to get their worldview into your mind.
If God is love itself, then why does he want to be praised high and worshipped? So the first thing that comes to mind for me...
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that God is not love itself. Like, that's completely wrong. God is not love itself. Like, that's just really goofy. That's a goofy idea. God is a person. You don't need to be a theologian. You don't need to be a smart person to understand that God is like this sort of father being, an agent that acts upon the world, a creator, whatever. I mean, it's not an abstract concept.
Is that Swedenborg describes the essence of love as loving someone outside of self, wanting to be conjoined with them, united with them, and wanting to make them happy or blessed from yourself. And that applies to God, too. Divine love is the same thing. He wants to be in a partnership with us. He wants to have us happy and blessed.
Yeah, like those first things she was saying, like love is these different components. Like, I don't know. I don't have any comment on that. I don't find any obvious problems right away with that. I don't see the need to break it down the way she's doing. But then she just said that God wants to be in a partnership with us. What on earth? What? What are you talking about? God is now in a partnership with us? Like, you're bringing God down to our level? Are you nuts? Face to face with God in a partnership.
He is not an egomaniac, a megalomaniac that says, bow down and worship me.
But then at the same time, you have to admit that if you go against his commands, then at some point or another he could be very wrathful and he could wipe you out. There could be some really bad stuff happen. So that doesn't make him a megalomaniac, but it's not a partner. In a partnership, your partner is not gonna have the wrathful element too. I mean, when I'm saying that God is not love, I mean, obviously the love element is there. I should have said that earlier. I mean, obviously the love element is there.
Of itself, wisdom itself, truth and goodness. Those, if we make those our priorities, that's like worshiping God. And that is what's going to bring us happiness and peace in life, as opposed to being hunkered down and focused on ourselves.
Okay, if we make truth and goodness our priorities, that's like worshiping God. I don't know, that might be true, but there might be some problems with this because you're being a little loose with the concept of worship. Because if you're taking the Christian tradition seriously, then you would have to admit that there's the Eucharist or communion or whatever, and I mean, of course, the Protestants didn't all end up agreeing on this, but that the traditional view is like that Christ, like his body and blood are consumed, and it's the real presence of Christ in the bread and his real blood in the wine. So that's worship, congregating in a church. But now you're just saying making goodness and truth your priorities, and I think that goes along with following what God wants or following his commandments, and that's part of what they may call logos, the natural order of the universe, which is God's order, essentially. But that's not quite the same as worshiping God. So their system is based on some lies from the beginning, and then they might have the best of intentions. Like, these people are not stupid. These people are reasonably intelligent people, but they're operating from some flawed assumptions. And I know I haven't gone on depth in this, so they could be having some good points too, but from what I've seen here, this is very questionable. They're confusing what God is. They're confusing what it is to worship God. Hasta luego, amigos.